So hello and buongiorno from Lake Garda. My name is Bailey Alexander. I love to jump off of cultural cliffs. So I'm going to read to you from my next book. I think I'm going to call it I Know Where I'm Going, because I've never known where I was going. And this is about a year I spent living in London when I studied at the University of London and then fell in love with a handsome, struggling English actor and stretched it out to a year and became a bar wench. I worked as a bar wench at the King and Keys pub on Fleet Street, which no longer exists. But anyway, here's a piece about the Mitford sisters because I wanted to live in London. Funniest tribe, and they just have such an extraordinary way with words. And this set of sisters, they are quintessentially English and bonkers. So here we go. Let's take a time machine back to 1930s Britain. Depression, unemployment, and appeasing Hitler were like fuel to the fire. The political temperature ignited emotions to explode inside homes and violence to play out in the street. 4 out of the 6 Mitford sisters were deeply political and made their views public, 2 of whom hung out with Hitler. One named Diana with a set of triangular blue eyes, full of high style and considered the most beautiful throughout the land, serene with a will of iron and razor sharp, a formidable mind. When she divorced to Guinness and married a man with a cause named Mosley, her fate was sealed. Her younger sister was another blue-eyed blonde named Unity, unironically born in the town of Swastika, Ontario, Canada. Unity took her curiosity to another level by moving to Germany and stalked Adolf Hitler at his favorite Bavarian cafe until they became friends, and then proceeded to try and blow her brains out when England went to war with Germany. Finally, it was all too much. Unity was close in age, if not politically, to her sister Jessica, who moved to America to celebrate communism and expose the scam that is our funeral industry by writing a book called The American Way of Death. It was quite well received in the 60s, and Decca, Jessica's nickname, proceeded to lead a relatively private life as a communist. Nancy, the eldest sister, a brunette with acerbic wit, became a beloved writer for an entire generation of English women. She wrote light and immensely clever novels about the aristocracy, a class she was familiar with, having grown up land-rich and cash-poor. Famous and capable of making her own money, some biographers suspected she may have been jealous of her sister Diana. You see, practically all of Nancy's artistic friends, Evelyn Waugh for example, fell in love with Diana, which meant Nancy's central literary theme, noblesse oblige, was practiced in books rather than real life. Nancy got her revenge by turning Diana into the police, insisting her sister could not possibly be free to continue to garner such attention after hanging out with Hitler. Diana was imprisoned for a few years, although never charged. Even her cousin, Winston Churchill, couldn't get her released. Eventually, after 3, she was freed. Aside from prison, she married twice. Both husbands were fabulously wealthy, each of whom adored Diana, and she blessed them back with many children. Diana's face when young was called ethereal and otherworldly, and she retained her beauty until her death at 93. Any venom, and there was plenty directed her way, was never to be reflected in that extraordinary face. Nancy, on the other hand, was never lucky in love. Her intense love for one man in particular went unrequited. After several miscarriages, she had no children and died of cancer at her home in Paris. Diana visited Nancy often during her illness, without knowing it was her own sister who helped put her in prison. Later on, when she found out, she wasn't fussed, somewhat disappointed, but Diana remained serene. The one common denominator uniting the Mitford sisters was their unnerving self-belief. Utterly free from shame and guilt, we'll never know how happy or content these women felt while alive. But we do know this, and it is impressive. They could not care less what anyone thought of their personal or political choices. An argument could be made the youngest Mitford sister, Deborah, did care, and she did her very best to resist fame. Alas, even Deborah couldn't help herself and became the Duchess of Devonshire and had such a head for business, she proceeded to rescue and resurrect one of the grandest estates in the English countryside. So they were extraordinary women. And anyway, so that's my third book coming up, and it's a little bit gossipy and actually far more intimate than my other two, although I think some people would say my first book was quite intimate. It's called The European Odyssey, How a Boxer's Daughter Found Grace, about living in lots of places. And my second book is called Personal Legends of Piemonte, and I interviewed 12 Piemontese, 12 Northern Italians, and it's like having dinner with 12 Italians, so it's really fun. So hey, ciao for now.